Thanks to all of you for actually getting together on a Saturday evening. It's very interesting that other than our show, I've actually not interacted with any of you earlier. So it's actually a really good thing in that sense. Sometimes you have too much of a familiar audience, and so it's not half as exciting. So it'll be very good to know each one of you, and of course, other than how you could help BOD, I'd be very happy to also offer my help to whatever you guys are on to. So I'll just share a very quick background as to how I got to do what I'm doing, and then I just have like some 4 5 slides to maybe explain what we do and the kind of work we've been doing. So very interestingly, I see in this group there are a lot of people who are now onto the entrepreneurship bandwagon, and some of you may be on the path, and some of you may never do that. I've had a very interesting journey. So I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. So I'm 2004-6 batch Cal, and as Prashant mentioned, so I did my engineering from NIT Bhopal. So from 2000 2004. And I remember in my Joka interview with Lynn Chat, and who's now retired, one of my favorite professors, behavioral sciences. So she had interviewed me in Delhi for the selection in IMCAL. And so she'd asked me, what do you want to do after MBA? So I said, I want to set up a chain of dhabas. And so I'd said the same thing at IMA interview, and they rejected me. So and they actually told me that you're too frank. This doesn't work. They told me on the face that they would not select me, and I was like, "What are you saying? I could have faked it, but I didn't do that." And in hindsight, I'm very glad that I got to be in a place which actually respected my choice much more. And of course, all these colleges are great colleges, but very, very lucky to have gone through those 2 years at Joka. And I obviously did not take studies seriously at all because I was very clear I wanted to be an entrepreneur. So this is just one justification for a poor CGPA, but I think it works. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if any one of you were part of the dram cell or not, but yeah, मतलब 1 सवा साल तो थिएटर में ही लग गया वहाँ जोका में, and then it was more of just figure out what to do. So from that chain of dhaba thinking to it got evolved a little bit more. It became a chain of bakeries, and so that was the business plan I was on to. And there were a couple of professors who were really, really helping out. And I don't know if you guys ever seek help of our profs, but they are super helpful. I mean, I remember in particular two professors, Professor Prashant Mishra, who was obviously teaching us services marketing at that time, and Professor Praloy Majumdar, who's a visiting faculty, but he was teaching working capital finance. तो बिजनेस प्लान बनाना तो आता ही नहीं था, तो बोला आप हेल्प करोगे क्या? Can you believe it? Back in 2005-6, he actually created my entire business plan on Excel and said ये चलेगा ये. So I took that to again our Joka community. So Joka community is very important, and I'm so grateful to Asho for really putting it together again. So I'd lost that connect or that thinking that we should leverage it a bit more. So I actually reached out to another one of our super seniors who's called PG, Pradeep Gupta. Is very, very active, and I think he's one of the distinguished alums as well, if I recall correctly. And at that time, he was running a company called Cyber Media Group. And he was also a founding member of one of the first angel investor groups called the Band of Angels. So it's almost sounded like a Joka Barusi band, but but it was those initial stages of, I would say, angel investing in India. And later on, they renamed themselves as Indian Angel Network. So I reached out to PG. I was still in college at that time. I said, "Sir, ये business plan चल रहा है, or I'm very sure I'll be able to do it. I need an audience with you, and can I present? And if you guys can invest." So he did not judge me at all. He knew I was an idiot, but he didn't judge me. And he invited me to Delhi, invited me to his home, and he'd actually called about 8 to 10 angel investors, and I just froze, and I was like, not expecting that, and made a presentation, shared everything, And in the end, he gave me a very candid feedback. He said, "कोई भी यहाँ पर पैसा नहीं डालेगा जब तक कोई POC नहीं होगा." What I didn't know what POC meant. I was like, "What do you mean by POC?" So he said, "It's a proof of concept. You know, you need to have something running till a level before you'll get investors." And so I was like, "उसी के लिए तो पैसा चाहिए, right?" So, but for the first time, I figured out that I was so naive and such an idiot in that journey. Decided to sort of push back the idea. Nobody in my family ever tried entrepreneurship, so I didn't have the guts to ask my parents to share their hard-earned salary income from a government job, and to sort of put it on a little bit of my own fancies. So from there, I decided to actually take up a job. I said the next best thing is to at least take up a job, and so found a decent job with Citigroup. Became a private banker over there, and started advising ultra high net individuals on how to invest their money. I mean, someone who doesn't know how to raise 10 lakhs of money was advising billionaires, right? So it was working well. I grew pretty fast, became the investment counselor for North India. And one fine day after 2.5 years, I figured out कि ये तो नहीं करना था. So ये क्या कर रहा हूँ मैं, right? So there was always that thing that you had to start out, right? And so this was the IPL year 2008, and I reached out to, in fact, one of my seniors at NIT Bhopal, who was again a misfit into what he was doing. So he's a mechanical engineer who went to IIT Delhi to study design, then joined Tata Motors, was part of the Nano project, एंड उसके बाद वो भी पक गया वो कि नहीं हो रहा उससे वहाँ पे कुछ डिज़ाइन इनोवेशन का कोई वैल्यू नहीं था वहाँ पे सो ही केम बैक वी मेट ओवर बियर एंड वी सेड ठीक है छोड़ते हैं जो कर रहे हैं लेट्स स्टार्ट सो एंड बोथ ऑफ अस हैड दिस इंटरेस्ट विद ब्रांड्स अ लिटिल बिट एंड तो वो थोड़ा सा हो गया कि आई वाज सॉर्ट ऑफ मोर ऑफ द स्ट्रेटेजिक माइंड ही वाज मोर ऑफ द डिज़ाइन थिंकर एंड वी डिसाइडेड टू जॉइन हैंड्स. So I remember it was exactly the IPL's first year, and it was also the first match of the first IPL, and that was the day when we decided our brand name. It was called Brands of Desire. That's how we began our journey. And 6 months later, my senior said कि ये तो चलेगा ही नहीं, तू पागल है, गलत काम शुरू कर लिया है, राइट? क्योंकि किसी के पास भी जाते तो उसको समझ ही नहीं आता था ब्रांड. वो हर कोई यही बोलता था कि यार how will you grow sales and how will you develop a campaign, and we said no, we don't develop campaigns, we're very strategic, so we'll tell you how we'll position you. And okay, positioning का क्या लॉजिक है भाई, मतलब धंधा आना चाहिए, positioning से क्या लेना देना है, right? So we found it very challenging to convince our first set of people we met, and there was hardly any acceptance for the idea. And eventually we signed a 30,000 rupee project, which was nothing to brag about. But that also was for a very unique company without naming the company. This was a 200 crore turnover company जो humanitarian aid के लिए tents और sanitary kits बनाते थे. तो मैंने उनसे पूछा कि आपका ड्राइवर ऑफ बिजनेस क्या है? क्योंकि जब भी डिजास्टर आता है वर्ल्ड में तो हमारा काम चल पड़ता है. मैंने कहा यार क्या काम कर रहे हो यार? दे आर ऑलवेज प्रेइंग फॉर डिजास्टर्स. राइट. So that's how we began our journey. It was a very painful climb. So much so that my co-founder left the business. He said ki, it's not the right time. We're too early for it. Nobody understands positioning. Nobody understands strategy. Forget about understanding design. So he left. I was left all by myself, and then the hard work really began. And from then onwards, we I think the hypothesis was always there. We knew that the way the world understood brands, at least in India, was very different from how we understood. We felt brand has to be at the center of the organization. Everybody else saw it as an afterthought कि सब कुछ कर लो उसके बाद brand आएगा. तो वो काफी educate किया लोगों को, खुद को भी educate किया. And then finally we had a little bit of a running business. A few people started trusting us and started building a team. So, long story short, over the last 12 or 13 years, we worked with over, I would say, 500 projects on both brand creation, brand transformation programs, and fairly strategic in nature, from uh, helping clients determine their purpose in life to developing a positioning to and changing everything around them, what they've done in the past. So it was a lot of fun. And about 2 3 years back, we realized that we needed to do much more. We were doing strategic stuff, but we weren't getting the value for our bucks. So again, so interestingly, went back to a Jokite, and as an entrepreneur, I can share one thing which I learned the hard way, is that ask for help. And I think some of us, at least I was, pretty egoistic initially. I wouldn't ask for help, so especially if you have a good pedigree, right? I mean, all of us belong to good colleges and good backgrounds, so we feel that ki apne aap nikal lenge, samajh aa jayega, right? So I think I took a lot of time before I started asking for help. And so I reached out to a batchmate from Joka. So he had joined BCG uh, after MBA, and he was there for several years. After which he got just fed up of the hard work which was required to be a management consultant, and without any value for life. So उससे बात हुआ, मैंने बोला भाई हम काम बहुत अच्छा करते हैं, काफी स्ट्रेटेजिक काम करते हैं, मतलब ऐसा काम होता है कि क्लाइंट्स लव अस, दे नेवर लीव अस, बट पैसे नहीं देते यार खुल के ये लोग, मतलब दे डोंट पे वेल, and I was like, what's wrong with us? I finally asked him. He said, आप करते क्या हो? मैंने पूरा समझाया, पूरा ब्रांड का आइडिया, स्ट्रेटेजिक लेंस, पोजिशनिंग, ये वो। कहते बीसीजी में भी हम ये करते हैं। I go, then how much do you charge? So I figured out they charge about 20x of what we charge. And I just dropped myself. I was like, what am I up to? I've just literally wasted my time. I mean, I'm not saying I can charge that much, but I could at least go half the way. So he said, we don't position it like that. And that was the first realization कि दूसरों का positioning कर रहे हैं और खुद का positioning गड़बड़ है, right? So that's the first self-realization kicked, and all thanks to a fellow Jokoite, a guy called Deepak Watts, and so he helped out. He made me understand how we need to position ourselves. The next thing we did, next morning, I called up my core team members and said कि boss, आज के बाद brands of desire नहीं बोलेंगे, चाहे काम ये करेंगे लेकिन ये नहीं बोलेंगे. So we rebranded ourselves as BOD, and we became BOD Consulting. But other than the name change, the big move that we made was we expanded our canvas. And we were doing strategy consulting, but we weren't calling it that. And we sort of rebranded our own selves to sort of change our track. So, and it's been a very interesting journey ever since, actually. Last 2 3 years, the market not only accepted us, but we started getting some value, at least, for the work that we do, or the value we create for our clients. So all thanks to another Joka I tried. And obviously now, ever since then, we've been at a decent growth part. We're about a team of about 35 plus consultants. And like any management consulting firm, you sort of have a campus program, you get people in early, and there is a path. One day they become a partner. So it's a little bit of the traditional route for now, but it's sort of taken off decently well ever since we pivoted to create a larger canvas. So that's just a short journey in a snapshot. So what I'm going to do is in about 5 slides, I'll just share कि अभी हम करते क्या हैं, and then I think we can open the floor for discussions, and how you guys can help, or how I can help you guys. So very quickly about BOD, the way we look like right now, and we were doing this kind of work, but we weren't talking this way. But this is how we are currently positioned. So we're a management consulting firm, and that's looking to solve big size problems, and I'll explain what big size problems typically mean for mid market enterprises, and I'll explain what that means, and to help them become large. So, at a very fundamental level, the way we define mid-market enterprise, it's a very private equity term, but these are companies with an annual revenue of anywhere between about $20 million to about $1 billion. It was just very coincidental that whenever we worked with clients over the last 13 years or so, these size of clients took maximum value out of our work, and it was the most fulfilling for us. We of course work with the larger companies, the large multinationals, and we also work for early stage startups, lots of them, tons of them. But यहाँ पर सबसे ज़्यादा value निकला दोनों side के लिए. So it's like product market fit अपना यहाँ बैठा, right? So that's where we decided to sort of specialize ourselves. And when I say big size problems, we felt that if we have to make a genuine contribution to them, we don't want to be doing conventional consulting, which is more transactional in nature, but rather work very closely with the founders, the leaders, and identify the significant size problems, problems which are at least valued at about, मतलब कम से कम 200-300 crore का problem होना चाहिए वो. Maybe it could be larger, but a very tiny problem would then not have, would not best leverage our capabilities, right? So did so started identifying such clients, and we were already working with such clients. We just sort of also repositioned ourselves. Uh, and the idea was that all of these clients wanted to get to the next level of trajectory of growth. So I think everybody wants to grow at the end of the day, right? So जो अभी $1 billion पे है वो सोचता है कि मैं लार्ज मल्टीनेशनल कैसा बनूंगा, मतलब हाउ विल आई बिकम अ $2 billion company, $5 billion company, and the $20 million company is also looking to grow and scale. But we found a lot of similarity between the companies of these in this bracket, right? They were still very, to some extent, founder led, not professionally managed in some cases. Some were family owned, family managed, some were family owned, professionally managed. Some were, you could say, VC funded, PE funded companies, looking to exit at some stage through an IPO route, or some strategic buyout. So a lot of such organizations, right, who found a lot of value in our work, and like I mentioned, so we've worked with over 1,000 assignments in the last 13 years, and typically, when we are successful, our clients experience above average growth in their revenues, profits, enterprise value, and brand value. Brand was something very close to our heart as always, right? So I also put a disclaimer when they're successful, and I'll explain to you why I say that, right? So, in terms of our focus, our most common engagements are the following, right? So, building corporate or growth strategy, leading business, brand, and digital transformation programs. And these are extremely complex programs, and they require very strong frameworks, very strong capabilities in terms of delivery. But somehow we've been doing it now for quite some time and feel very confident with them. Designing and implementing digital first business models. Again, very focused towards this segment of the market, not so much of the startup crowd, but where, let's say, an existing mid-size, mid-market company is looking to pivot or start a totally new business model, which is digital first in nature. So they would find us as a very, very good partner for helping them develop that. And then also designing and driving implementation of value creation journeys, often leading to a VCP, IPO, some sort of a liquidation event. So this is the sort of work that we've done very, very extensively, and we're very confident about our delivery on that. So like any management consulting firm, right, starts with a short duration study, and then you want to come out with a set of recommendations, and then sort of handhold in the execution journey. So we've sort of built those capabilities over the years and do that really well. Just a quick snapshot of the kind of clients. So if you see, this is a very mixed blend. It includes a few mid-market enterprises, but a few very large companies as well. But what I want to put as a disclaimer here is that even with the very large companies, sometimes we just work with a business unit, and that business unit would be a mid-market company. So so I feel that even large multinationals are nothing but they're a set of maybe 20, 30 mid-market enterprises, all looking to sort of grow and be on a certain path. So yeah, so that's the sort of client base we've had over the years. Very, very industry agnostic. So we didn't get ourselves married to any one sector. Though from time to time we realized that some sectors were more savvier than others. We did a lot of work in education, a lot of work in logistics, a lot of work in food FMCG over the last 2, 3 years. Some work in telecom, healthcare, and so yeah. I mean, like any consulting firm, right? You don't always sort of over specialize. And more recently, we signed our first project, with the government. We kept trying for the last 6, 7 years. We never get it. We never figure out how to do it. But during COVID, some magic happened. कुछ काम ही नहीं था करने को. तो एक टेंडर निकला तो पूरा टीम उसी के पीछे बैठ गया. We figured out that you can actually crack that, and we signed a project with Ministry of Culture to develop the brand for the Prime Minister's Museum, which is coming up. So that was a big win for us last year. But yeah, I think overall we've had some very exciting case studies to work on. So very quickly, if I talk about capabilities, just two slides. So why we picked up the mid-market space. So, we felt very familiar with these kind of challenges. We felt if companies had these kind of challenges, we do a good job. जहाँ पर परफॉर्मेंस अकाउंटेबिलिटी कल्चर नहीं है, सेंट्रली गवर्नड है, एक डिक्टेटर ऊपर बैठा हुआ है, उसको लगता है कि माई वे और द हाईवे है, तो वो एकदम ऐसा एनवायरनमेंट है जो आगे नेक्स्ट लेवल पे स्केल होना बहुत मुश्किल है, right? So yeah, if there are high barriers to internal collaboration due to very siloed sort of operations, or a lack of structured approach for talent management, people management practice के नाम पे मतलब कुछ है ही नहीं, मतलब payroll and very basic processes exist, and you want there's no structured thinking at all, right? Or there is no strategic thinking in place. It's all execution mindset. So short term goals are prioritized over long term goals. So ये हमारे लिए सब sweet spot है. It's like these are like sitting ducks for us, if I may use that word, right? Obviously, if the leader also appreciates that. कई बार ऐसा होता है कि लीडर को ये मालूम है लेकिन वो मानता नहीं है. कई बार ऐसा होता है कि good leaders acknowledge that we face these challenges, and then of course we have a really good fit. Where people feel that इम्प्लीमेंटेशन ऑफ स्ट्रेटेजिक इनिशिएटिव्स बहुत मुश्किल लगता है, या स्लो पेस में चलता है ये काम, इनएडिक्वेट है, और चैलेंजेस इन कम्युनिकेटिंग एंड अलाइनमेंट ऑफ लीडरशिप प्रायोरिटीज टू द रेस्ट ऑफ द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन. मतलब लाला ने सब सोच लिया दिमाग में और उसको लगता है कि बस अब हो गया काम, राइट? एंड सो वेरी टिपिकल मिड मार्केट एनवायरनमेंट. And you have a lesser number of seasoned professionally trained leaders, hardly any method of building a pipe. Adapting to digital world is a new thing for these people, right? I mean, not people like you guys are so smart digitally, I could never consult you on this. But so they're looking to enter into new operating models. They want to launch new business models, but very digital first, right? And they face a huge challenge in their ability to transform the brand, to stay relevant, to leverage marketing. ओवरऑल लीडरशिप कैपेबिलिटी काफी इनएडिक्वेट रहता है ऐसी कंपनीज में, राइट? सो बेसिकली यू हैव सुपरमैन लीडर्स, 2-3 people who are running the show, but they yet have created 1,000 crore, 2,000 crore, 3,000 crore, even 5,000 crore turnover company, and it's amazing how they've done that. But I deeply respect them, and we connect really well with such people, and we're able to sort of share with them how we can make a difference to their future. So just last slide now. So there are only 5 areas that we sort of focus on, and we've sort of gone through this exercise several times, but finally came to a conclusion that ये 5 areas हैं जहाँ पर हम सबसे ज़्यादा strong हैं. Of course, they can be related adjacent areas, long tails of works and things like that. But these are our specialty with mid-market firms. So one is strategy design. Very typical, exactly what a McKinsey BCG would do. But we do it for mid-market. उनके लिए mid-market exciting नहीं है. And typically leads into some sort of strategic decision making. And the second stage for us is helping execute that strategy. So a lot of hand holding work, very programmatic, typically transformation programs or driving strategic initiatives, change management initiatives, which emerge from the strategy design but require extensive hand holding if they have to yield results. Third, as I shared, the digital businesses, right? Again, these are mid to long duration programs where the entire onus on us is to help them design and implement digital business models, leading to a successful launch and scale up. Fourth area, our first love continues to be, we get a lot of work around this. People know us for that, so obviously it's easy to get business in that. Is the brand and marketing solution space. So we created a lot of intellectual property over there, very strong frameworks. We are deeply respected for our work in this area. And the fifth area is very special and relatively new, but I felt it's a big game changer for us now, is leadership development. So if you recall, short while ago, I had shared, not every product is successful. In fact, if you ask me, less than 15% of consulting projects really yield the promised return or ROI or that big bam, outcome that you promise at the start of an engagement. And we figured out there was a very strong correlation with the quality of leadership, the capacity of leadership, and the capability of leadership, at the top of the organization. That really made a difference between high quality strategy and then implemented really well or executed well. So we decided कि ये काम तो करना पड़ेगा, नहीं तो हमारा success rate काफी कम रहेगा. So that's how another practice got created, which is leadership development. Very strongly focusing on that. not just in terms of providing trainings, workshops, but very hand-holding coaching, to high-performing managers and leaders to drive strategy execution. So that's really it. I mean, of course, there's so many other slides, but it doesn't make sense for this chat. I think I just thought this would be good to sort of share where I come from and what we've been doing over the years. Yeah, happy to get into a conversation, a dialogue, or Ashu, whoever you'd like to moderate that. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much, Saurabh.
yeah. Yeah, like I mentioned, I got my aha moment when I sought help. So I was helping people position themselves, and I was screwed myself. So I really, really believe that this group here can help me a lot, in giving me more aha moments. So really looking forward to your help. Yeah.
सो जो छोटा स्पेस है, जो छोटे कंपनीज हैं इन टर्म्स ऑफ रेवेन्यू एज यू टोल्ड, सो हाउ डू दे मेक देयर presence feel or make sure that the brand is active or activated or being recognized in their set of customer segment probably,
Yeah. Yeah.
because
And
वो परसेप्शन हमारा वही रहता है ना, बड़ी ब्रांड है कोका कोला, वी ऑल नो, बट जो
correct. Correct.
सेगमेंट होता है उनको हाउ डू यू हेल्प एंड व्हाट एडवांटेज दे हैव
Yeah.
ओवर द
Yeah.
ब्रांड.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, प्रशांत भाई, काम exactly यही है कि कोका कोला कैसे बनना है, right?
अच्छा.
So because that's what the ask is, right? So when we work with clients, so while it may seem like 500,000 crore छोटा है, but वो छोटा नहीं है वो, मतलब you have to see these people have done some amazing work, and I don't know too many people who are able to do that. Very few people get to a stage of 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 crores, right? Most of us, ज़्यादातर लोग entrepreneurs 10 crore से नीचे बैठे हैं, right? Turnover में वो वाला ही पास नहीं क्रॉस हो पाता है. It's not easy. I mean, it requires a lot of opening up. You have to think very differently, very out of the box for
Yeah.
that sort of flow. So I feel that that's exact gap we figured out that there's so many, I wouldn't say बहुत ज़्यादा छोटी कंपनीज के साथ भी काम होता है, बट ये जो मिड मार्केट वाला जो स्पेस है ना, यहाँ पर एबिलिटी है, पोटेंशियल है कुछ बड़ा क्रिएट करने का, कोका कोला जैसा क्रिएट करने का, लेकिन ना तो नॉलेज है, ना स्किल्स है, ना कैपेबिलिटी है, ना कोई बताने आ रहा है कि कैसे करना है, राइट? आई थिंक मोस्ट पीपल कम एंड सेल देयर सर्विसेज, राइट? कि कोई ऑडिट बेच रहा है, तो कोई कुछ प्रोसेस कंसल्टिंग की एसओपी बना देंगे, बट एसओपी बनाने से स्केल अप नहीं होता है, राइट? यू डोंट सडनली become a या HR policy बनाने से, right? So so we felt कि this was exactly the gap we wanted to fulfill, right? कि how to create the next Coca-Cola, right? And I'm very pleased to share there are several such companies in our portfolio. So we almost work like a private equity company also. कि private equity company क्या करती है? वो भी mid market के साथ काम करती है और उनको बड़ा करने में पैसा लगाती है. हम लोग knowledge लगाते हैं, right? And then we put in all our resources, thinking, knowledge capital so called. And there's several such companies which are on that track, of becoming the next Coca-Cola, right? But only when they become, you hear about them. So that's the thing about it. So and usme काफी regional organizations हैं, so a lot of the mid-market space is filled up with tier 2, tier 3 companies. I mean, about 6-7 years ago, I landed up in Lucknow. मुझे लगा यार यूपी में कोई क्या काम करेगा, right? किसी स्कूल से फोन आया मुझे, right? तो स्कूल से फोन आया and the head of the school said कि हमें अपना स्कूल को ब्रांडिंग करना है. मैं कहा, चलो ठीक है, लखनऊ चलते हैं. एंड वहां से वो कहानी शुरू हुआ. वी एंडेड अप वर्किंग विद अबाउट 10 क्लाइंट्स इन लखनऊ, एंड वी वर लाइक अमेज्ड एट द अमाउंट ऑफ that visionary thinking that entrepreneurs had over there, right? And we saw this everywhere. मतलब राजकोट गए तो वहां भी वही नजर आया, right? सूरत गए वहां भी वही नजर आया, भोपाल गए वहां भी वही नजर आया, right? So we felt that, that the real culture of entrepreneurship was not in the big cities. Big city maybe, of course, there are good companies over there and a lot of mid market, but hype ज़्यादा है, right? It's all hyped up. So that willingness to learn, willingness to do something big, दिल्ली में भी वो सेम साइज का क्लाइंट होगा ना, मैं उसको बोलूंगा कि ये करना है, मेरा मुझे सब आता है, I know all, right? So I think what I realized is that as an entrepreneur, whatever size you are, or as a business leader, that hunger to know more what you don't know is so important. And we found that with the mid market space, we found that these are the guys who are willing to learn or unlearn, and in their journey to sort of break their shackles and become very large and because बहुत सारे ऐसे ट्रिगर पॉइंट्स हैं जहाँ पर अपन फंस जाते हैं उसके उसके पॉइंट के आगे नहीं ग्रो हो पाते so then you
हाँ,
need someone to help you break through. I mean, I needed someone to help me break through, right? I consult everyone, but I also needed it. So हम लोग as an entrepreneur or as a leader, I would say leader entrepreneur ज़्यादा फर्क नहीं है, same ही है, right? We are very self-obsessed with our own idea of what we are doing, and we think that that's the best way to do it, right? एंड बट जब कोई एक्सटर्नल पर्सपेक्टिव मिलता है लॉजिकल तरीके से मिलता है एंड प्रॉपर हाई क्वालिटी असिस्टेंस नॉट द जुगाड़ वाला राइट तो आई थिंक दैट ओपन्स अप पीपल एंड वीव एक्सपीरियंस दैट अ लॉट या या
okay. बस एक और क्वेश्चन है
हाँ
when
बोलो
you start your company, I mean, most important part of it is people around you.
या
So sometimes it's serendipity that people joins your vision.
या
वो फाउंडर बन जाते हैं जैसे आपने बताया एक थे बट वो छोड़ गए. So initially how do you select a team? I mean, is there a mantra around it or it's, I mean, all that people come and go and you keep getting people who will puzzle that out?
Sure. No, I think this is a very important question, Prashant. I think there are so many other people who could also answer that because itne sare entrepreneurs are here. But I'll share from my experience, right? So I think I was very egoistic early on, right? So when my senior left me, the best thing that had happened to me was that he and I were working together, right?
Okay.
The worst thing that could have happened to my venture was he left in 6 months,
Mm-hmm.
right? And in hindsight, that was the worst thing. I mean, it was not by choice, not by design. I did not hope it would happen. बट आई वाज इगोइस्टिक दैट कि मैं कोई बात नहीं मैं अकेले निकल लूँगा। वो आ जाता है ना कि अच्छा छोड़ गया तो छोड़ गया।
हाँ,
हाँ,
हाँ, हाँ. मैं करके दिखाता
वो
हूँ.
हाँ, उसी को ईगो कहते हैं राइट? तो उसी को बेवकूफ़ी बोलते हैं राइट? सो आई रियलाइज़ दैट एंड आई फिगर आउट दैट इट इज़ सो इम्पोर्टेंट to you know have co-founders with you, right? Or people who can empathize on the same problem statement for a very long period of time. And so that's step number one. But it's not a it's not like it's a very big challenge to attract people. You need to be open towards it. The big challenge is not attracting people. The big challenge is, are you open to it? And I was not open to it after I lost my co-founder, right? So I was like, ab ho jayega. But had I been open to it, I would have found other people. I shut myself after that. Let's put it like that, right? So I felt कि कोई बात नहीं, आप कर लेंगे, right? So I think that was a big lesson for me. What people will how to आपने बोला one of the most important, I think the only thing is that, right, how to sort of build a team and get people excited about your journey and your passion and the problem is if you call it your passion your journey तो फिर तो भूल जाओ मतलब कोई engagement नहीं रहा
हाँ,
so exactly वही ego है जो entrepreneur को छोड़ना पड़ेगा right so
हाँ, हाँ.
I really believe that entrepreneurship is the fastest path to moksha right so you learn so many things on the way and how idiotic one is. But it can't be your journey. It has to be a shared vision. It has to be a shared journey. कुछ छोड़ना पड़ेगा आपको, right? So सब कुछ आपका नहीं है, right? So and I think that's where a lot of founders go wrong. In hindsight, if I was to re-begin, I would just take a back seat and allow my co-founders to drive a lot of the thinking.
Okay.
So yeah. So it's not difficult. I think it's a mindset issue. Uh, why if you ever find a founder not being able to make a team or build a team तो वो उसका प्रॉब्लम है उसके बिजनेस आइडिया का प्रॉब्लम नहीं है वो उसका विलिंगनेस नहीं है उसको लगता है कि मैं ऐसे लोग लाऊंगा जो मेरी बात सुनेंगे राइट but that's not co-founders then yeah
Yeah. It is more about reaching to lot many people and then deciding, or probably when synergy happen, you'll know.
no I think you need to see as a founder you need to learn how to sell yourself right sell your idea
Okay. Mm-hmm.
and obviously you need to sell it to a lot of people but you need to find people who resonate with it and also believe that कि इसको कुछ इसके साथ कुछ किया जा सकता है right I mean what we called in management jargon as a shared purpose a shared vision और ये एक्चुअल में होता है भाई ये मतलब ये मुझे भी लगता था कि ये सिर्फ किताबों में है बट it's worth selling the idea of a shared purpose a shared vision कि
Okay.
मतलब even if it's a problem to solve as an entrepreneur you're going to be solving a problem right तो अगर 2-3 लोगों को लगता है कि ये सेम प्रॉब्लम है, हाँ, यही सॉल्व करना है, सो योर बैटल इज़ वन, मतलब हो गया फिर, मतलब यू कैन गेट स्टार्टेड। या the only other check, of course, is value system, right? So you don't want to sort of work with someone जिसका के साथ value system match नहीं करता. So for example, if you're ethical, you need an ethical co-founder. If you're unethical, then you need an unethical co-founder. So I'm not judging कि क्या सही है क्या गलत है, but value system match होना चाहिए, right? So उसमें फिर conflict थोड़ा कम आता है, right? So that's the only other thing.
सौरभ, आप जब मिड मार्केट को हेल्प करते हो, मिड मार्केट क्लाइंट्स को, तो लाइक मिड मार्केट टू enterprise is a very different competitive space, right? कि if you are talking about, let's say, all of us might relate to this. I am ABC जो है, that form the top three these schools, and then there are L and S and etc. XLRI वगैरह वगैरह सब आते हैं. So we can't really suddenly say कि हाँ मैं कल उठ के कोई कोड को I want to take it to the top league, because that is a very different problem altogether. Maybe also from the Coca-Cola standpoint,
Yeah.
if I think about top 2 or 3 beverage brands, I can think of only immediately comes to top of my mind Coke, Pepsi, and maybe Paperboard वगैरह आना शुरू हो जाता है. So like where do you draw the line, and where do you say कि हाँ the success is not essentially becoming an enterprise, but the success is something different, and how do you define that?
Yeah, so I think somewhere down the line, if you talk to any entrepreneur, at least in today's India, तो वो छोटा नहीं सोचता है, right? And there's no harm in thinking as big as you can. I feel that how big people become is also part of their destinies, right? And we can't always influence it beyond a point, but we can't sell a smaller aspiration, you know. So it's like जैसे आपने एग्जांपल दिया, अगर कोई कैट का एग्जाम दे रहा है, अगर 1.5 लाख लोग कैट का एग्जाम दिए, तो कोई भी ये तो नहीं सोच रहा ना कि मुझे आई में नहीं जाना है या सी नहीं जाना है. डिजायर तो वही है ना, right? So of course a few people will get there, maybe because of their intelligence or the special gifts they've got from God. And I call special gifts also as hard work, passion, and not just intelligence, right? And a genuine desire, genuine will to create something very large.
Right.
And which is why not every company that we work will be like so super successful. But अगर एक भी निकल आया 100 में से, तो it's like that, right? It's like the hit ratio of getting into an ABC is low, but people do get in. In the end, you just need one seat, right? So the other way to look at it, the way I see mid marketers, from the lens of, it's like जैसे एक होता है ग्रेजुएशन, एक पोस्ट ग्रेजुएशन, एक पीएचडी, वो वाला लेंस भी आप ले सकते हो. So there are a lot of companies who are at a startup stage, right? So it's like simple graduation level पे है. अब ग्रेजुएशन से पोस्ट ग्रेजुएशन पे ले जाने के लिए वो स्टार्टअप से मिड मार्केट बना, फिर पोस्ट ग्रेजुएशन से नेक्स्ट लेवल पे ले जाने के लिए you need a next level sort of a consultant, right? So it's a different education required, a different set of capabilities required, different set of experiences required, different sort of leaders required. So I think it's not that every mid-market company will become large or an enterprise, but agar leaders ka will hai, if that self-will is very powerful, so they will find people like us or somebody else, and create a peer group of a network of advisors and high quality people who would get them there. So it's like जैसे अगर कोई हाई पोटेंशियल प्लेयर है, उसको अभी तो नहीं मालूम है ना कि वो बैडमिंटन में वर्ल्ड चैंपियन बन सकता है, बट कहीं शुरू करेगा, उसका सपना तो होना चाहिए कम से कम. अगर सपना ही नहीं होगा तो कोई चांस नहीं है, राइट? सो एंड देन ऑन द वे यू विल फाइंड, इफ यू हैव द राइट डिजायर, यू विल फाइंड द राइट कोचेस, यू स्टार्ट बिल्डिंग अ टीम. पैसा नहीं है तो पैसा भी मिलेगा. मतलब the thing is, if you have the will to do it, you get there. So part of our battle is to identify such leaders. In fact, just like any investor, any PE firm, VC firm, we do exactly the same. हम लोग कंपनी नहीं ढूंढ रहे होते, हम लीडर ढूंढ रहे होते हैं. The company happens to be. अगर वो वैसा लीडर मिल गया ना, जैसे अभी हमने पीछे एक क्लाइंट के साथ साइन अप किया, वो इतना बड़ा नहीं है, लगभग 200-250 करोड़, एफएमसीजी कंपनी, दिल्ली बेस्ड, रोहिणी बेस्ड, राइट? तो बट वो बंदा ऐसा है कि अगर उसे सही एडवाइस मिल गया, उसको, इफ someone like us gets on board with him, he will create a 20,000 crore turnover company, right? So 100x growth. So for us also, it's about identifying such people. and अपना hit rate भी तो improve करना है अपने को, right? So we don't do.
Right.
So over the years, we've also learned that we can't say yes to every client who wants to work with us, because हम भी वही करते हैं, जैसे CAT के एग्जाम में फिल्टर होता है प्रॉपर कि ये कर पाएगा कि नहीं कर पाएगा, right? तो वही assess करते हैं.
So there is also a follow-up question that comes to my mind.
Yeah.
जैसे कि जितेन की बात कि mid-market in India, I think, has been identified as a untapped opportunity by large players like Amazon as well. Like they are also doing this Sambhav इतना बड़ा उन्होंने किया था. I think Facebook has also identified that as a big opportunity.
Right.
So that way, then, आपका do you see a collaboration opportunity with them, or do you see yourself as
Absolutely, yeah. In fact, I wrote to the head of the Sambhav initiative at Amazon exactly for this reason. जब ये announce हुआ था 2-2.5 3 साल पहले. And we also got talking. He connected me to a bunch of other people in his team. He was a very senior guy. But Amazon is another bureaucracy, right? So in the end, by the way, we did get a project in Amazon, and but it was not Sambhav. And this project also we got was through another Jokaite. So so the Joka community is pretty thriving, right? So and you just have to ask for help and you get help, right? So तो किया हमने project किया, but then what we realized is कि I did not understand the vision behind Sambhav very clearly, right? So and we gave them a blueprint, but they were very slow to react, very slow. But अगर आपके पास है कोई मतलब very open to access that opportunity, so to either with Facebook or Sambhav, I really feel there's a lot we can do for that group of people.
Let's figure out the gives and the ask also. If you have any specific among our listeners also, कुछ है मांगने को तो मांग लो. Otherwise, Saurabh, you ask कि क्या expect कर सकते हो, क्या मांग सकते हो करके, and we'll get there also. Please, or you show the way how we can this small group can help you in whatever little way.
I think of course there's so many areas in which you could all help me, right? So the idea was to share with you कैसा सोचते हैं हम लोग क्या करते हैं. So of course if you're in network with such amazing leaders who are on the path, or they have the aspiration to create something truly large, but also are somewhat funded, right? So because हमें अपना fee भी चाहिए, so so wherever that is a good fit, we're very happy to work. In fact, we work with a lot of large enterprises also, but like I mentioned, within that, business units, right? So and the other ask is because we're investing a lot on building a very strong digital business practice. So, and this is not a tech practice, but a digital business practice, right? So more from the lens of how to help clients pivot themselves or to create totally new business models. So we do feel that कि हमें उसमें ना एक बहुत solid leader चाहिए. मतलब I mean, of course we're doing a lot of projects around that space, but ऐसा लगता है कि हमें सब कुछ नहीं मालूम है उसमें. And अगर कोई उसमें एक अच्छा solid leader मिलता है अपने को who can head the practice, that would be like pretty amazing, right? So the third ask which I have, so I've set myself a goal this year and also started working on a business model for the same, is that typically management consulting firms are not able to raise funds, and वो business model वैसा बना नहीं होता, right? So it's very partner dependent. So we solved that problem. So now we have multiple partners, but this year we are further improvising on our business model to make it very scalable. So and I think for sure by the end of the year we'll be looking to raise funds and grow BOD to the next stage. तो उसके लिए क्या help कर सकते हो? That of course will also be like very very open to sort of preparing us for that journey, right? So there we need consulting and some sort of hand holding to get to that journey. So I guess yeah, those are my 3 specific asks. But इसके अलावा अगर आपको लगे कि यार ये जो मांग रहा है उसके beyond भी मेरे पास कुछ देने को है, तो आप दे सकते हो, right? So I'll take it with a begging bowl.